Today we're diving into yet another Democrat-run scam in the state of California. It's called recycling, where 99% of all your plastics go right into the landfill. Who pays for it? You, the constituents of California, do. Let's get into this tragedy. Here we go. All right, this is the far left Los Angeles Times. But what I would argue there is the Los Angeles Times is under new ownership, and they've done some fairly conservative things underneath the new owner. And they are literally running stories that you're like, interesting. So interesting that Breitbart was the one that's when we're going to read the Breitbart article because it's funny. Let's watch this video, though. LA Times.
It wasn't all that long ago that California was crowing about leading the world and stopping the environmental plague of single-use plastic. The ones that are piling up in our landfill, escaping into rivers, beaches, and into our ocean. But as the years have gone by, it's becoming increasingly apparent that things aren't going as planned. On December 31st, the state's waste agency, CalRecycle, issued a report showing that very little of the plastic going into Californians' blue bins is actually being recycled. Fewer than 1% of all milk cartons are being recycled. Same for items made with polystyrene, that foamy kind of plastic that makes packing peanuts and other foam-to-hold packaging. The plastic material used to make yogurt containers and margarine tubs is only being recycled at 2%. And shampoo, detergent, and moisturizing cream bottles, those are only being recycled at 5%. In fact, according to the report, there is no kind of plastic being recycled in the state at rates of more than 23%. But looking at the low recycling rates reported, many are wondering whether California is really a leader on this front or just blowing a lot of hot air.
My mom has been into recycling. She's from Australia. She came to the United States in the 60s. Had me. We've been here. Had my younger brother. And she's always been, into the earth and into kind of what makes sense. So I've recycled since I was little. I remember going to recycle cans. We'd save up cans and take cans when you could actually get a little bit of money for cans. And this wasn't with the per can, deposit deal either. Oregon used to have 10 cents a can, 10 cents a bottle, something just insane like that. And then I think they stopped doing it because they figured out that everybody was taking all that money and buying fentanyl. Yeah, it was causing overdoses. Anywho, I've been recycling as an adult. I've always recycled. If I got a big blue bin, yep, I fill it up. But I always think to myself, as I spend that extra 15, 20 seconds cleaning out my piece of plastic, putting it dutifully underneath the sink in my separate blue bag for my separate blue recycling. Oftentimes I think, this is just all going in the dump. This isn't going anywhere. This isn't being recycled into, and even if it was being recycled into my new butter container or margarine container, whatever, the energy it takes to recycle that plastic has got to be greater than just creating the damn thing the first time, right? Just making it. It's got to be way more to recycle than it does to just take chemicals, slap them together, and out you go, butter container. Let's read this article. It's a pretty good one. It's pretty funny. Far left Los Angeles Times looked at a report investigating Democrat-run California's recycling program that found it to be a big hoax. Watch it for yourself. What we just did. 1% of milk jugs are recycled. 2% of certain plastic material is recycled. You know what's so crazy? Is we are eliminating plastic bags from grocery stores. I know California's done it. Washington State's basically done it. I think we only hand out paper bags now, which I don't mind. But you get a paper bag wet, that bastard is done, right? It just, there goes your groceries littered down the walkway at your grocery store. Thanks, guys. Yeah, plastic bag wouldn't have broke. But you walk into any grocery store, I don't care where you are, with the exception of, the fresh produce. And you even got to put that in a plastic bag, right? You don't want somebody's grimy hands getting on your salad materials, on your lettuce, on your celery. Can't have that. So you put it in plastic. Every other damn thing in the grocery store is in plastic. styrofoam, plastic wrapping. And yet we can't get a plastic bag out the grocery store for all of our stuff. Those heavy-duty plastic bags are really good. I get those at 7-Eleven, right? 7-Eleven will sell them to you. 8 cents a pop, I think. Man, they are some good bags. Plastic all the way. So California's Democrats force everyone to separate their trash, and for decades, everybody's been told they're doing good by using those blue trash bins for recyclables. But fewer than 1% of all milk cartons recycled. Plastic used for things like yogurt and margarine containers only recycled at a rate of 2%, 1%, 2%, max 23%. Does this make any sense whatsoever? Things like shampoo, detergent, moisturizer, cream bottles, those are being recycled at 5%. No form of plastic being recycled at a rate higher than 23%. What happened to the rest? What do you think is happening? It's going where it should have always been going. In the landfill. Where else? Funny article. Recycling has never made sense to me. I totally get and fully on board with keeping our air and water clean. Me too. I also hate littering. I will stop to pick up litter just because, that whole, leave no trace ethic. World would be a better place if you just didn't litter. You know what I mean? It's just that and no graffiti. What I don't get is what difference it makes to put back in the earth what came from the earth. Interesting. Everything that creates garbage came from the earth, including the ingredients necessary to create plastic. So what's the harm of putting it back in the earth? Well, it won't biodegrade for decades and decades and decades. All right, but it's in a hole in the earth, right? Where's it going to go? Well, nowhere. All right. Yeah, eventually your plastic's got to enter kind of that end deal, right? Like, okay, this is the final resting place of this piece of plastic that's been recycled 43 times, and we used up 100 times the energy necessary than if we would have just created it brand new and put it in the dump. Are you telling me it takes less energy to recycle than to produce something from scratch? Please, not for a second do I buy that. No, this is all just a bunch of virtue signaling. Oh, we're such good people. We recycle all of our stuff. We try not to harm the earth. Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's just a bunch of nonsense because you put it in the dump anyway. I remember going to the dump. What was that? I think it might have been a year ago during the holidays. I was taking somebody's Christmas tree, I think, or maybe a fake Christmas tree that was dead. And I can't remember what the deal was. No, I had just yard waste and I rolled up and they said, yep, just put it anywhere you want today. We're not doing the yard waste. We're not doing recycling. We're not doing anything. Everything, just lay it down. It's going to the dump. And I was like, I can deal with that. I just get to put this wherever I want. I don't have to sort it out, put this stuff over here. Yeah, just a bunch of mumbo jumbo. I just got to dump my stuff and go. And you could tell the guy at the dump who was telling me this, he was like, yeah, this is what we should be doing because it all ends up at the fill anyway. All this virtue signaling on, oh, look, I'm sorting out the recycling. And, oh, this is the greatest thing ever. And you're like, no, it's terrible. On my boat, we do no recycling because it's an absolute cluster to recycle, take it off your boat, take it to the boat, the recycling, and then they just go ahead and throw it in the dump anyway, right? Go through a lot of consumables on when people are out having fun, right? A lot of just, plastic and aluminum and no glass. Cut your feet. What's happening to the rest? What do you think's happening? Landfill, recycling's never made sense. Seriously, someone please explain the harm caused by burying plastic in a giant hole. We're just putting everything back where it came from. Again, you don't want to dig that hole over a water source, but other than that, what's the harm? He's got a point. I'm sure some libtard would go, oh, you can't do that. That's not good for the environment. Yeah, neither is homeless encampments, and you love those. So, all California is doing is wasting everyone's time. It's all a hoax to convince leftists that they are good people and that they can continue to consume with a clean conscience. It's all a big, dumb left-wing performance. I don't recycle. I've never recycled. Recycling is dumb. Okay. All right. Okay. Calling something I've been doing since a little kid dumb. Maybe it is. Maybe this is just the stupidest thing ever. Right? And if all this stuff is ending up back in the dump, and this is California, what's Washington State doing? Something less effective, I'm sure. What percentage is Washington State's, recycling stuff? You go over to a certain family member's house and they're like, I'm like, do you have recycling? And they're like, no. Like, okay, all right, straight up Republican. I respect that. And, it kind of goes along those lines, right? Republicans, they're like, yeah, just put it in the garbage. It's going to go there anyway. And then Democrats are like, oh, yeah, we can't soil the earth with, non-biodegradable plastic. That'll take 3,000 years before it breaks down into the earth's soil. And you're like, yep, don't care. I'll be dead. Won't matter. Reports on abysmally low rates of recycling for carton milkins and polystyrene have been widely shared and known, but the newest numbers were still a grim confirmation. There are a few options for dealing with these materials. According to one state analysis, 2.9 million tons of single-use plastic, 171 billion single-use plastic components were sold, offered for sale, or distributed in California in 2023. Single-use plastics and plastic waste, more broadly, are considered a growing environmental and health problem. In recent decades, plastic waste has overwhelmed waterways and oceans, sickening marine life and threatening human health. And yet, we still just stick it in the dump. In the dump. I'm not saying, hey, let's go ahead and throw it where our water comes from. Let's go ahead and, throw it where animals are. Keep that stuff clean. Don't litter. Don't be a dummy. But above all, have this whole thing make sense. And if we are spending more money recycling this stuff than we are creating it from scratch, you know what I mean? Efficiencies. That's how you spend billions and billions of dollars, and it just literally goes right out the window, right? And we've got this kind of more current issue going on. The nudge from industry, Congress takes aim at California recycling laws. Plastics industry is not happy with California. It's always looking to friends in Congress to put the Golden State in its place because California just has ridiculous policies. California has not figured out how to reduce single-use plastic. Remember when they started outlawing single-use plastic and consumer plastic usage actually went up? Because they're using more bags, the thicker plastic, and it's actually using more bags. But its efforts to do so have created a headache for the fossil fuel industry and plastic manufacturers. Two businesses are linked since most plastic is derived from oil or natural gas. December, Republican congressman from Texas introduced a bill designed to preempt states, in particular California, from imposing their own truth in labeling or recycling laws. The bill, called the Packaging and Claims Knowledge Act, and otherwise known as FY California, calls for a national standard for environmental claims on packaging that companies would voluntarily adhere to. Why are we even worrying about this? It's all going to go in the dump at the end of the day anyway, right? No, it's because it's super expensive for these companies to comply with a bunch of ridiculous stuff coming out of California. California's policies have slowed American commerce long enough, Representative Randy Weber, Republican from Texas, said, where he said, not anymore on X. We're not doing this anymore. Homie, don't play that game, right? Legislation was written for American consumers. It's clear that California laws, such as Senate Bill 343, which requires that packaging meet certain recycling milestones in order to carry the Chasing Arrows recycling label, are the ones he and the industry have in mind. So, a bunch of back and forth on a bunch of nonsense that at the end of the day goes into the dump. That's where it goes. Statistically, everything that you're recycling, and I know a lot of folks recycle. I'm guilty of it too, and I'm just going to keep on doing it. Because you know why? I feel better about myself. I'm like, oh, Sean, you are a superior human being than all those poor bastards that just stick it right in the garbage. But how much of my life do I waste cleaning out whatever it is, and then put it in my little blue thing and then haul it out to the recycling bin, push that extra bin out to the curb, knowing it's going to get taken in one of those big blue trucks to the dump. Yeah. Perfect. Okay. I feel like a lot of life is that, right? Just get on the treadmill and where are we going? Nowhere. And we're getting there fast. That's it for me on this one. Love to have you subscribe, hit that notification bell, share with friends and family. I'll see you on the next episode. Thanks again for joining. Bye for now.